Good evening. This is the first night of our Vasa talks, and we are going to continue with the Majjhima Nikāya. But I'd like to say, before we go into these suttas, that new Samaneras, you should know that on the store there, the notice, you see the yellow colored notice as instructions for new monks and new Samaneras. So when you're free, you go and read there. Gives you instructions about going on alms round and proper conduct and all these things. So every day you all go and read and get to know how to conduct yourselves. Now we're going to the suttas. Last year I read the Majjhima Nikāya suttas up to sutta number 14. So tonight we are going to begin with sutta number 15. One thing I like to say is that I'm going to go through these suttas very fast because of time limitation. Every night probably have to do 2 or 3 suttas, or even sometimes 4 suttas. So because of that, I'm not going to have enough time to explain in great detail these suttas. And these talks that I am giving is just introduction to you all on these suttas. And if you listen to these talks and at the same time look at the books, then you will understand better. In fact, I see many of you without the books. You should have come here prepared with the books. Last year when we did the Samyutta Nikāya, a lot of people had the books ready. So maybe later you can get the books. You can ask somebody, your relative or somebody, to get the book. So if you find that these talks are not so detailed, then you should understand it's because of time constraint. When I did the first Nikāya, the Anguttara Nikāya, I only gave one talk of 1 hour per week. So I had a whole week to prepare. But now, every night I have to give the talks. So I have to prepare the talks either in the morning or in the afternoon. So I don't have much time. Okay, now we come to Sutta number 15, Majjhima Nikāya. It's called the Anumana Sutta, Inference. That's the title. We're using this book by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. The only thing is sometimes some of the words I'm not so happy. I change a bit. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Venerable Mahamoggallana was living in the Bhaga country at Sumaragira, in the Besakala Grove, the deer park. There he addressed the monks thus. Friends, monks, friend, they replied. The Venerable Mahamoggallana said this. Friends, though a monk asks thus, let the Venerable Ones admonish me. I need to be admonished by the Venerable Ones. Yet if he is difficult to admonish and possesses qualities that make him difficult to admonish, if he is impatient and does not take instruction rightly, then his companions in the holy life think that he should not be admonished or instructed. They think of him as a person not to be trusted. I stop here for a moment. Mahamoggallana is one of the very senior disciples of the Buddha. So sometimes he gives Dhamma talks to the other monks. The translation here, this friend is Avuso. During the Buddha's time, the monks address each other as Avuso. Sometimes it's translated as friend, like here. Sometimes it's translated as venerable. So, or reverend. So here Venerable Mahamoggallana says, even though sometimes a monk asks to be admonished, to be told his faults, But if he has qualities that make him difficult to admonish, then the other monks would be reluctant to admonish him. If he is impatient, does not take instruction rightly, so since it is difficult to admonish him, other monks would not want to admonish him. Now in the Vinaya books, in the Mahavagga chapter 1, when a new monk comes to train under a teacher, because a new monk is supposed to spend 5 years under a teacher, and if he possesses certain qualities, the teacher is supposed to dismiss him, throw him out. If he possesses 1 of 5 qualities, one is he does not have much faith in the teacher. Number 2, he does not have much respect for the teacher. Number 3, he does not have much affection for the teacher. Number 4, he does not have a sense of shame towards the teacher. Not much sense of shame towards the teacher. Number 5, he does not have much development or progress under the teacher. And the teacher is supposed to chase him away, dismiss him. So that's why, if a certain monk is difficult to admonish, then others will not admonish him. Now the sutta continues. What qualities make him difficult to admonish? Here a monk has evil wishes and is dominated by evil wishes. This is a quality that makes him difficult to admonish. Again, a monk lauds himself and disparages others. This is a quality that makes him difficult to admonish. 3. Again, a monk is angry and is overcome by anger. Number 4, a monk is angry and revengeful. Number 5, a monk is angry and stubborn. Number 6, a monk is angry and utters words bordering on anger. Number 7, a monk is reproved and he resists the reprover. Number 8, a monk is reproved and he denigrates the reprover. Number 9, a monk is reproved and he counter-reproves the reprover. Number 10, a monk is reproved and he prevaricates, leaves the talk aside and shows anger, hate and bitterness. Number 11, a monk is reproved and he fails to account for his conduct. Number 12, a monk is contemptuous and domineering. 13, a monk is envious and avaricious. 14, a monk is fraudulent and deceitful. 15, a monk is obstinate and arrogant. 16, a monk adheres to his own views, holds on to them tenaciously, and relinquishes them with difficulty. This is a quality that makes him difficult to admonish. Monks, friends, these are called the qualities that make him difficult to admonish. Stop here for a while. So here there are 16 qualities that make a monk difficult to admonish. Number 1, he has evil wishes. Maybe he desires to be famous. He wants fame, or any other evil wish. Number 2, he lauds himself, praises himself, and puts down others, disparages others. Ego. Number 3, the monk is angry. He cannot control, overcome by anger, cannot control his temper. Number 4, a monk is angry and revengeful. If you admonish him, he might want to take revenge. Number 5, a monk is angry and stubborn. Stubborn, probably doesn't want to change. Number 6, a monk is angry and utters words bordering on anger. So he speaks angry words back. Number 7, the monk is reproved and he resists the reprover. Tries to defend himself, does not want to admit. Number 8, a monk is reproved and he denigrates the reprover. So when you admonish him, he talks bad about you. Number 9, a monk is reproved and he counter-reproves the reprover. So you tell him his fault, he'll tell you back your fault. 10, a monk is reproved and he prevaricates and leaves the talk aside and shows anger, hate and bitterness. So when you tell him his fault, he speaks or acts evasively. Number 11, a monk is reproved and he fails to account for his conduct. He does not want to account for his failings. 12, a monk is contemptuous and domineering, arrogant, domineering. 13, envious and avaricious, extremely greedy, will not change. 14, fraudulent and deceitful. This one is very important. If a disciple is fraudulent and deceitful, he doesn't want to show his faults to the teacher, then the teacher cannot make him improve. A person who wants to learn, who wants to improve, progress on the spiritual path, he has got to be very straightforward. Whatever faults he has got to expose them to the teacher, not be deceitful. 15, obstinate and arrogant, stubborn and haughty. 16, adheres to his own views, holds on to them tenaciously, will not change his views. You tell him his wrong views, he will not change. So these are the qualities. If a monk possesses these qualities, then his companions in the holy life would not want to admonish him because he doesn't want to be admonished, he doesn't want to improve. And Venerable Mahamoggallana continues. Friends, though a monk does not ask thus, let the Venerable Ones admonish me. I need to be admonished by the Venerable Ones. Yet if he is easy to admonish and possesses qualities that make him easy to admonish, if he is patient and takes instruction rightly, then his companions in the holy life think that he should be admonished and instructed, and they think of him as a person to be trusted. What qualities make him easy to admonish? Here a monk has no evil wishes and is not dominated by evil wishes. This is a quality that makes him easy to admonish. Again, a monk does not laud himself nor disparage others. Number 3, he is not angry nor allows anger to overcome him. 4, he is not angry or revengeful. 5, not angry or stubborn. 6, not angry and does not utter words bordering on anger. 7, when reproved, he does not resist the reprover. When reproved, he does not denigrate the reprover. When reproved, he does not counter-reprove. He is reproved and he does not prevaricate, lead the talk aside and show anger, hate and bitterness. When reproved, he does not fail to account for his conduct, as he explains himself. 12, he is not contemptuous or domineering. 13, he is not envious or avaricious. 14, he is not fraudulent or deceitful. 15, he is not obstinate or arrogant. Again, a monk does not adhere to his 16. He does not adhere to his own views or hold on to them tenaciously, and he relinquishes them easily. This is a quality that makes him easy to admonish. Friends, these are called the qualities that make him easy to admonish. Stop here for a moment. So here the converse, if a monk is easy to admonish, makes himself admonishable, then other monks observes that he is willing to be reproved, willing to change, then the other monks will want to help him and tell him his faults. Now friends, a monk ought to infer about himself in the following way. 1. A person with evil wishes and dominated by evil wishes is displeasing and disagreeable to me. If I were to have evil wishes and be dominated by evil wishes, I would be displeasing and disagreeable to others. A monk who knows this should arouse his mind thus: I shall not have evil wishes and be dominated by evil wishes. Similarly, for the other qualities, he thinks if a person has these evil qualities, then he is displeasing. And if he himself has these qualities, he is also displeasing to the others. So he changes, does not allow himself to have these evil qualities. So for a person to change himself, first he has to acknowledge he has these faults. If a person is not willing to admit your faults, you will never improve. So when another person tells you your fault, you should not try to defend yourself, but in the Buddha's teachings, we should be willing to accept criticism, to consider whether what people say about us is reasonable or not. And he continues, now friends, a monk should review himself thus, do I have evil wishes, and am I dominated by evil wishes? If when he reviews himself he knows, I have evil wishes, I am dominated by evil wishes, then he should make an effort to abandon those evil, unwholesome states. But if, when he reviews himself, he knows, I have no evil wishes, I am not dominated by evil wishes, then he can abide happy and glad, training day and night in wholesome states. Again, a monk should review himself thus, do I praise myself and disparage others? Do I adhere to my own views, hold on to them tenaciously, etc.? So when he reviews himself, then he knows that he does not have, if he has these evil qualities, then he should make an effort to abandon those unwholesome states. And if he does not have them, then he can be happy and glad, training day and night to develop wholesome states and abandon unwholesome states. Friends, when a monk reviews himself thus, if he sees that these evil, unwholesome states are not all abandoned in himself, then he should make an effort to abandon them all. But if when he reviews himself thus, he sees that they are all abandoned in himself, then he can abide happy and glad, training day and night in wholesome states. Just as when a woman or a man, young, youthful, fond of ornaments, on viewing the image of her own face in a clear, bright mirror, or in a basin of clear water, sees a smudge or a blemish on it, she makes an effort to remove it. But if she sees no smudge or blemish on it, she becomes glad thus. It is a gain for me that it is clean. So too, when a monk reviews himself thus, then he can abide happy and glad, training day and night in wholesome states. This is what the Venerable Mahamoggallana said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Venerable Mahamoggallana's words. That's the end of the sutta. So here you see a senior monk like the Venerable Mahamoggallana, he's trying to advise the younger monks how to improve themselves. There's one thing very good about these suttas. They're all very practical, and if you study them and you find that you can use them to improve yourself and progress on the spiritual path. This is what the spiritual path is about, to change our character for the better. Even if you are not a monk, even for lay people, if you change yourself for the better, then you find that your life is well lived. At the end of your life, when you are about to pass away, then you don't have remorse, you don't be depressed about yourself. Okay, the next sutta, number 16, Cetokhila Sutta, the wilderness in the heart. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Madhupindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus, Monks, Venerable Sir, they replied, the Blessed One said this, Monks, that any monk who has not abandoned 5 wildernesses in the heart and has not severed 5 shackles in the heart should come to growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. This is impossible. What monks are the 5 wildernesses in the heart that he has not abandoned? Here a monk is doubtful, uncertain, undecided and unconfident about the teacher. And thus his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, that is the first wilderness in the heart that he has not abandoned. Stop here for a moment. Here, this first one is doubtful, unconfident about the teacher. This teacher here refers to the Buddha in the monks. For the monks during the Buddha's time, the only teacher is the Buddha. Again, a monk is doubtful, uncertain, undecided and unconfident about the Dhamma. as his mind does not incline to ardor. That is the second wilderness in the heart that he has not abandoned. Again, a monk is doubtful, uncertain, undecided, and unconfident about the Sangha, as his mind does not incline to ardor. That is the third wilderness in the heart that he has not abandoned. Again, a monk is doubtful, uncertain, undecided, and unconfident about the training, as his mind does not incline to ardor. That is the fourth wilderness in the heart that he has not abandoned. Stop here for a moment. So here, first one is doubtful about the Buddha. Second, doubtful about the Dhamma. Third, doubtful about the Sangha. Fourth, doubtful about the training. The training here normally refers to the training of Sila, Samadhi and Panya, moral conduct, concentration and wisdom. You can also say this is a training in the Noble Eightfold Path. Again, the monk is angry and displeased with his companions in the holy life, resentful and careless towards them, and thus his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, that is the fifth wilderness in the heart that he has not abandoned. These are the five wildernesses in the heart that he has not abandoned. Here the last one, angry and displeased with his companions in the holy life. A monk, he should have good relationship with his fellow monks, so that they can help him and he can help them, and helping each other, they can progress on the spiritual path. If, as a monk, the Buddha says, a monk has renounced, he does not have a mother or a father to look after him. If monks do not look after themselves, who is going to look after them? So having friendship with other monks is quite important. What monks are the five shackles in the heart that he has not severed? Here a monk is not free from lust, desire, affection, thirst, fever, and craving for sensual pleasures, and thus his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, that is the first shackle in the heart that he has not severed. Again, a monk is not free from lust, desire, affection, thirst, fever, and craving for the body. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance, that is the second shackle in the heart that he has not severed. Again, the monk is not free from lust, desire, affection, thirst, fever, and craving for form. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance, and striving, that is the third shackle in the heart that he has not severed. Stop here for a moment. So here, the five shackles. The first one is craving for sensual pleasures. The second one is sensual pleasures means craving for pleasurable sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touch. And the second one is craving for the body. Here, craving for the body refers to his own body, vain about his body, and all that. And the third one is craving for form. Here, craving for form probably refers to other bodies, craving for other bodies, especially those of the opposite sex. Again, a monk eats as much as he likes until his belly is full and indulges in the pleasure of sleeping, lolling, and drowsing. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance, and striving, that is the fourth shackle in the heart that he has not severed. Again, the monk lives the holy life, aspiring to some order of gods. Thus, by this virtue or observance or asceticism or holy life, I shall become a great god or some lesser god. And thus his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance, and striving. As his mind does not incline to ardor, devotion, perseverance, and striving, this is the fifth shackle in the heart that he has not severed. These are the five shackles in the heart that he has not severed. Monks, that any monk who has not abandoned these five wildernesses in the heart and severed these five shackles in the heart should come to growth, increase, and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. That is impossible. Dhamma Vinaya, is the teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Suttas, and this Vinaya is the monastic discipline for monks. So here the 5 shackles is craving for sensual pleasures, craving for his body, craving for other bodies, and eating too much. When we eat too much, we tend to become sleepy. If we are fat, we tend to want to sleep more. But the more we sleep, the more we want to sleep. So that's not good. If we want to progress in the spiritual path, we have to be a bit ascetic. Just sleep the minimum that we need. We sleep too little, also you won't progress. You sleep too much also, so you have to know what is the minimum you require. And then the last one is living the holy life, aspiring to be some god, deva, so that you have a good life. So that being the case, you're not inclined to strive very hard in the holy life. So these are the 5 shackles. Monks, that any monk who has abandoned 5 wildernesses in the heart and severed 5 shackles in the heart should come to growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. That is possible. What monks are the 5 wildernesses in the heart that he has abandoned? Here a monk is not doubtful, uncertain, undecided or unconfident about the teacher, and thus his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, the first wilderness in the heart has been abandoned by him. Again, a monk is not doubtful, uncertain, undecided or unconfident about the Dhamma. Number 3, again a monk is not doubtful, uncertain, undecided or unconfident about the Sangha. Number 4, again a monk is not doubtful, uncertain, undecided or unconfident about the training. Number 5, again a monk is not angry and displeased with his companions in the holy life, nor resentful and careless towards them, and thus his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, the 5th wilderness in the heart has been abandoned by him. These are the 5 wildernesses in the heart that he has abandoned. What monks are the 5 shackles in the heart that he has severed? Here a monk is free from lust, desire, affection, thirst, fever, and craving for sensual pleasures, and thus his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, the first shackle in the heart has been severed by him. Again a monk is free from lust, desire, affection, thirst, fever, and craving for the body. Number 3, again a monk is free from lust, desire, affection, thirst, fever and craving for form. That means other bodies. Number 4, again a monk does not eat as much as he likes until his belly is full and does not indulge in the pleasures of sleeping, lolling and drowsing. Number 5, again a monk does not live the holy life aspiring to some order of gods, thus by this virtue or observance or asceticism or holy life, I shall become a great god or some lesser god, and thus his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving. As his mind inclines to ardor, devotion, perseverance and striving, the 5th shackle in the heart has been severed by him. These are the 5 shackles in the heart that he has severed. Monks, that any monk who has abandoned these 5 wildernesses in the heart and severed these 5 shackles in the heart should come to growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. That is possible. Stop here for a moment. So here the converse for a monk is to not have these 5 wildernesses or these 5 shackles in the heart, and then he can progress on the spiritual path. He develops the basis for psychic power consisting in concentration of desire and determined striving. He develops the basis for psychic power consisting in concentration of energy and determined striving. He develops the basis for psychic power consisting in concentration of mind and determined striving. He develops the basis for psychic power consisting in concentration of investigation and determined striving. And enthusiasm is the 5th. Monks, a monk who thus possesses the 15 factors including enthusiasm is capable of breaking out capable of enlightenment, capable of attaining the supreme security from bondage. Let's stop here for a moment. So these last 5 things, 4 of them is the 4 iddhipada, the basis for psychic power. And the 5th one, the Buddha has added is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm to strive in the holy life. So 15 factors means the 5 wildernesses, the 5 shackles, the 4 bases of psychic power, the iddhipadas, plus enthusiasm, that would be 15. Suppose there were a hen with 8, 10 or 12 eggs, which she had covered, incubated and nurtured properly. Even though she did not wish, oh, that my chicks might pierce their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and hatch out safely. Yet the chicks are capable of piercing their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and hatching out safely. So too, a monk who thus possesses the 15 factors, including enthusiasm, is capable of breaking out, capable of enlightenment, capable of attaining the supreme security from bondage. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So here, the Buddha is saying that if a person wants to become enlightened, he must not have these 5 wildernesses in the heart, or the 5 shackles in the heart. And then he should have the 4 iddhipadas, the 4 bases of psychic power, which means determined striving and concentration of desire, concentration of energy, concentration of mind, and concentration of investigation. Investigation means investigation of the Dhamma, plus enthusiasm to strive. So when you don't have these unwholesome states of wildernesses and shackles, and you make great effort, you're enthusiastic to strive on the spiritual path, then it is possible to become enlightened. So this is another sutta. Now we come to sutta number 17, Vanapattha Sutta, jungle tickets. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Madhupindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus, Monks, Venerable Sir, or Bhante, they replied. The Blessed One said this, Monks, I shall teach you a discourse on jungle tickets. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monks replied. The Blessed One said this, Hear, monks, a monk lives in some jungle thicket. While he is living there, his unestablished mindfulness does not become established. His unconcentrated mind does not become concentrated. His undestroyed taints or asavas do not come to destruction. He does not attain the unattained supreme security from bondage. And also the requisites of life that should be obtained by one gone forth, robes, arms, food, resting place, and medicinal requisites, are hard to come by. That monk should consider thus, I am living in this jungle thicket. While I am living here, my unestablished mindfulness does not become established. My unconcentrated mind does not become concentrated. My undestroyed taints or asavas do not come to destruction. I do not attain the unattained supreme security from bondage. And also the requisites of life are hard to come by. That monk should depart from that jungle thicket that very night or that very day. He should not continue living there. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that if a monk stays in a certain place and he strives on the spiritual path, but he is not making progress, his unestablished mindfulness does not become established, his mind does not become concentrated, and it does not destroy the asavas. The asavas refers to the uncontrolled mental outflows, basically the flow of consciousness, which because consciousness is that which creates the world. So, and also the requisites are hard to come by, difficult to get. For example, if a monk stays in a jungle place full of snakes and mosquitoes and creepy crawlies, and it's very difficult to practice, so he's not making progress. And also because he's staying so deep in the forest, very difficult to get requisites. So the Buddha says he should leave that very same day or night. Don't stay there. Here monks, a monk lives in some jungle thicket. While he is living there, this unestablished mindfulness does not become established. This unconcentrated mind does not become concentrated. This undestroyed taints do not come to destruction. He does not attain the unattained supreme security from bondage. Yet the requisites of life that should be obtained by one gone forth are easy to come by. That monk should consider thus: I am living in this jungle thicket. While I am living here, my unestablished mindfulness does not become established. My unconcentrated mind does not become concentrated, etc. I do not attain the unattained supreme security from bondage. Yet the requisites of life that should be obtained by one gone forth are easy to come by. However, I did not go forth from the home life to homelessness for the sake of robes, alms, food, resting place, and medicinal requisites. Moreover, while I am living here, my unestablished mindfulness does not become established. My unconcentrated mind does not become concentrated, etc. Having reflected thus, that monk should depart from that jungle thicket. He should not continue living there. I stop here for a moment. So here, a monk stays in a particular place, and he gets a lot of requisites. However, he's not making progress. For example, if he stays in a town monastery, and there's plenty of support from the lay people, he gets plenty of robes, plenty of good food, and stays in an aircon room, etc., having a good life. But he cannot progress on the spiritual path. Then the Buddha says he should depart. Not necessary to depart the same day, but he should depart soon. Now to continue. Here monks, a monk lives in some jungle thicket. While he is living there, his unestablished mindfulness becomes established. His unconcentrated mind becomes concentrated. His undestroyed taints come to destruction. He attains the unattained supreme security from bondage. Yet the requisites of life that should be obtained by one gone forth are hard to come by. The monk should consider thus: I am living in this jungle thicket. While I am living here, my unestablished mindfulness has become established. I have attained the unattained supreme security from bondage. Yet the requisites of life are hard to come by. However, I did not go forth from the home life into homelessness for the sake of robes, alms, food, resting place, and medicinal requisites. Moreover, while I am living here, my unestablished mindfulness has become established, etc. I have attained the unattained supreme security from bondage. Having reflected thus, that monk should continue living in that jungle thicket. He should not depart. I'll stop here for a moment. So here, this monk is staying in the jungle, where it's very difficult to get the requisites. Maybe insufficient food, not much food, or not so good quality food, and the other requisites also hard to come by. But he's making progress. For example, if a monk stays in the hills and are supported by the hill tribes, there the offerings of requisites, the requisites are not so good, but because he is in a very lonely place, he's making progress. Then the Buddha says he should continue staying there. Here monks, a monk lives in some jungle thicket. While he is living there, his unestablished mindfulness becomes established. His unconcentrated mind becomes concentrated. His undestroyed taints come to destruction. He attains the unattained supreme security from bondage. And also the requisites of life that should be obtained by one gone forth, robes, alms, food, resting place, and medicinal requisites, are easy to come by. That monk should consider thus: I am living in this jungle thicket. While I am living here, my unestablished mindfulness has become established. I have attained the unattained supreme security from bondage. And also the requisites of life are easy to come by. That monk should continue living in that jungle thicket as long as life lasts. He should not depart. So this fourth one, this monk stays in this jungle place. The requisites are quite well provided, and also he makes progress on the spiritual path. Then the Buddha says that is the ideal Stay there until the end of life. Don't go anywhere. And then the Buddha repeats the same 4 things, 4 conditions for different places. Here monks, a monk lives in dependence upon a certain village. And again these 4 conditions. He stays in a certain village and he does not progress, and the requisites are hard to come by. Then he should depart the very same day. And then secondly, he stays in a certain place, in a certain village. He does not progress, but there is plentiful supply of requisites. He should still depart. Third, he stays in a place where the requisites are not much, but he is making progress. So the Buddha says he should continue staying there. Fourth, he stays in this village and he is making progress, and the requisites are also easy to get. And the Buddha says you stay there until the end of life. Similarly, here a monk lives in dependence upon a certain town, the same 4 conditions. Here a monk lives in dependence upon a certain city, also the same 4 conditions. Here a monk lives in dependence upon a certain country, again the 4 conditions. So here these are all talking about a place. What is a suitable place for a monk? So according to the sutta here, what is a suitable place for a monk is where he makes progress. Ideally, if he makes progress and he gets a lot of requisites, that is ideal. And the sutta continues. Here monks, a monk lives in dependence upon a certain person, that means a certain teacher, certain acharya or achan. And then, as before, he lives in dependence upon a certain teacher, and he does not make progress, and also the requisites are hard to come by. And then the Buddha says, that monk should depart from that teacher without taking leave. He should not continue following him. And the second teacher, here monks, a monk lives in dependence upon a certain person, a certain teacher. And then staying there, he does not make progress, but plenty of requisites. Having reflected thus, that monk should depart from that person after taking leave. He should not continue following him. And the third one, here monks, a monk lives in dependence upon a certain person, a certain teacher, and he makes progress, but the requisites are hard to come by. Having reflected thus, that monk should continue following that person. He should not depart. Number 4, here monks, a monk lives in dependence upon a certain teacher, and then he makes progress, and also the requisites are plentiful. That monk should continue following that person as long as life lasts. He should not depart from him, even if told to go away. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So this sutta is again another very practical sutta. The first part is telling you what is a suitable place to stay. If you stay in a certain cave or a certain forest or in a certain secluded place, and you are making progress, the Buddha says continue staying there. But if you are not making progress, then leave, the Buddha says. Similarly, if you follow a certain teacher and you make progress, then you should stay with him. Even if he chases you away, also you don't run away. Kicks you out of the door, so you crawl back. But if you are not making progress, then even though he asks you to stay, you should leave. So that is the Buddha's teachings. So it is a very clear where to stay, what teacher to follow. Whether I have time to do another sutta, let's try. Never mind, we'll try to do it. Okay. Number 18, sutta number 18, Majjhima Nikāya, Madhupindika sutta, the honey ball. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living in the Sakyan country at Kapilavatthu in the Nigroda's park. Then when it was morning, the Blessed One dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, went into Kapilavatthu for alms. The outer robe is what you are wearing. This is a shivon, this is the outer robe. When he had wandered for alms in Kapilavatthu and had returned from his alms round, after his meal he went to the great wood for the day's abiding, and entering the great wood, sat down at the root of a bilva sapling for the day's abiding. Dandapani, the Sakyan, while walking and wandering for exercise, also went to the great wood. And when he had entered the great wood, he went to the Bilva sapling, where the Blessed One was, and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he stood at one side, leaning on his stick, and asked the Blessed One, "What does the recluse assert? What does he proclaim?" And the Buddha said, "Friend, I assert and proclaim such that one does not quarrel with anyone in the world, with its gods, its maras, and its brahmas. In this generation, with its recluses and Brahmins, its princes and its people, such that perceptions no more underlie that Brahmana who abides detached from sensual pleasures, without perplexity, shorn of worry, free from craving for any kind of being." I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is asked, what does he teach? Then the Buddha says, he teaches that he teaches such that he does not quarrel with anyone. And also his teaching is such that perceptions no more underlie the Brahmana. Here the Brahmana, this word Brahmana originally referred to the Brahmana caste, the Brahmin caste. Originally the Brahmana caste were ascetics, ascetics, recluses. So later they were employed by the king to be advisors. So they did not practice the spiritual path anymore. So later that this Brahmana caste came to be called Brahmins. But this word Brahmana can mean the Brahmin caste as was used originally, or it can mean the religious person, the ascetic, or the recluse, or the monk. So here, when the word Brahmana is used, it means the religious man. So the Buddha says that his teaching is such that perceptions no more underlie the Brahmana who abides detached from sensual pleasures, without perplexity, shorn of worry, free from craving for any kind of being. When this was said, Dandapani the Sakyan shook his head, wagged his tongue, and raised his eyebrows until his forehead was puckered in 3 lines. Then he departed, leaning on his stick. But obviously he didn't know what the Buddha was talking about. So bewildered. Then when it was evening, the Blessed One rose from meditation and went to Nigroda's park, where he sat down on a seat made ready for him, and told the monks what had taken place. Then a certain monk asked the Blessed One, "But Venerable Sir, what is that the Blessed One asserts, whereby one does not quarrel with anyone in the world, with its gods, its maras, and brahmas, in this generation with its recluses and Brahmins, its princes and its people? And Venerable Sir, how is it that perceptions no more underline that Brahmana, who abides detached from sensual pleasures, without perplexity, shorn of worry, free from craving for any kind of being?" So here this monk also didn't understand, so he asked the Buddha to explain. And the Buddha said, "Monks, as to the source through which perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation beset a man, if nothing is found there to delight in, welcome or hold to, this is the end of the underlying tendency to lust, of the underlying tendency to aversion, of the underlying tendency to views, of the underlying tendency to doubt, of the underlying tendency to conceit, of the underlying tendency to desire for being, of the underlying tendency to ignorance. This is the end of resorting to rods and weapons, of quarrels, brawls, disputes, recrimination, malice, and false speech. Here these evil, unwholesome states cease without remainder." That is what the Blessed One said. Having said this, the Sublime One rose from his seat and went into his dwelling. So here the Buddha says that source from which perceptions and notions arise, if nothing is delighted in there, if you do not delight in that source, welcome or hold on to it, that is the end of the underlying tendencies to lust, aversion, etc. Then soon after the Blessed One had gone, the monks considered, "Now friends, the Blessed One has arisen from his seat and gone into his dwelling, after giving a summary in brief without expounding the detailed meaning. Now who will expound this in detail? Then they considered, the Venerable Mahakachana is praised by the teacher and esteemed by his wise companions in the holy life. He is capable of expounding the detailed meaning. Suppose we went to him and asked him the meaning of this. Then the monks went to the Venerable Mahakachana and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, they sat down to one side and told him what had taken place, adding, let the Venerable Mahakachana expound it to us. The Venerable Mahakachana replied, friends, it is as though a man needing hardwood, seeking hardwood, wandering in search of hardwood, thought that hardwood should be sought for among the branches and leaves of a great tree standing possessed of hardwood, after he had passed over the root and the trunk. So it is with you, venerable sirs, that you think that I should be asked about the meaning of this, after you pass the Blessed One by, when you were face to face with the teacher. For knowing the Blessed One knows, seeing he sees. He is vision, he is knowledge, he is the Dhamma, he is the Holy One. He is the sayer, the proclaimer, the elucidator of meaning, the giving of the deathless, the Lord of the Dhamma, the Tathagata. That was the time when you should have asked the Blessed One the meaning. As he told you, so you should have remembered it. I'll stop here for a moment. So here Venerable Mahakachana is saying, you had the Buddha in front of you and you never asked him. It's just like the hardwood is in front of you and you don't know that it is hardwood. You go and look for the leaves and the branches, which is worthless. So he's saying, I'm like the leaves and the branches. The Buddha is the enlightened one. Why you ask me? Then they said, surely friend Kachana, knowing the Blessed One knows, seeing he sees, he is vision, etc., the Tathagata. That was the time when we should have asked the Blessed One the meaning. As he told us, so we should have remembered it. Yet the Venerable Mahakachana is praised by the teacher and esteemed by his wise companions in the holy life. The Venerable Mahakachana is capable of expounding the detailed meaning of this summary given in brief by the Blessed One without expounding the detailed meaning. Let the Venerable Mahakachana expound it without finding it troublesome. Then listen, friends, and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, friend, the monks replied. The Venerable Mahakachana said, friends, when the Blessed One rose from his seat and went into his dwelling after giving a summary in brief without expounding the detailed meaning, that is, monks, as to the source through which perceptions and notions tinge my mental proliferation beset a man. If nothing is found there to delight in, welcome and hold to, this is the end of the underlying tendency to lust, etc. This is the end of resorting to rods and weapons. Here those evil, unwholesome states cease without remainder. I understand the detailed meaning of it to be as follows. Dependent on the I and forms, I consciousness arises. The meeting of the tree is contact. With contact as condition, there is feeling. What one feels, that one perceives. What one perceives, that one thinks about. What one thinks about, that one mentally proliferates. With what one has mentally proliferated as the source, perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation beset a man with respect to past, future and present forms, recognizable through the eye. Dependent on the ear and sounds, dependent on the nose and odors, dependent on the tongue and flavors, body and tangibles, dependent on the mind and mind objects. Similarly, the meeting of the tree is contact. With contact as condition, there is feeling. What one feels, that one perceives. What one perceives, that one thinks about. What one thinks about, one mentally proliferates. With what one has mentally proliferated as the source, perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation beset a man with respect to past, future and present. So here, let's stop here for a moment. So here what the Mahakachana is saying is that our six sense bases has these six sense objects. So the meeting of the sense object with the sense base causes the consciousness to arise. So when consciousness arises, it is followed by feeling, perception, proliferation. So that's basically what he says. So it is the contact of the sense object with the sense base that causes this feeling, perception, etc. to arise. And he continues, when there is the I, a form and I consciousness, it is possible to point out the manifestation of contact. When there is the manifestation of contact, it is possible to point out the manifestation of feeling. When there is the manifestation of feeling, it is possible to point out the manifestation of perception. When there is the manifestation of perception, it is possible to point out the manifestation of thinking. When there is the manifestation of thinking, it is possible to point out the manifestation of being, beset by perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation. Similarly, when there is the ear, sound and ear consciousness, when there is the nose, odor and nose consciousness, etc., it is possible to point out the manifestation of feeling, perception, thinking, etc., mental proliferation. When there is no I, no form and no I consciousness, it is impossible to point out the manifestation of contact. When there is no manifestation of contact, it is impossible to point out the manifestation of feeling. When there is no manifestation of feeling, it is impossible to point out the manifestation of perception. When there is no manifestation of perception, it is impossible to point out the manifestation of thinking. When there is no manifestation of thinking, it is impossible to point out the manifestation of being beset by perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation. Similarly, when there is no ear, no sound and no ear consciousness, no nose, no odor and no nose consciousness, etc. So here, basically what he is saying is that when there is the sense basis and the sense objects, feeling, perception, thinking, etc. arise. But when there is no sense base and no sense object, then there is no contact. Because of no contact, there is no feeling, no perception, no thinking, no mental proliferation. Friends, when the Blessed One rose from his seat and went into his dwelling, after giving a summary in brief, without expounding the detailed meaning, that is, monks, as to the source through which perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation beset a man, if nothing is found there to delight in, welcome and hold to, that is the end of the underlying tendency to lust, of the underlying tendency to aversion, of the underlying tendency to views, of the underlying tendency to doubt, of the underlying tendency to conceit, of the underlying tendency to desire for being, of the underlying tendency to ignorance. This is the end of resorting to rods and weapons, of quarrels, brawls, disputes, recrimination, malice and false speech. Here these evil, unwholesome states cease without remainder. I understand the detailed meaning of this summary to be thus. Now friends, if you wish, go to the Blessed One and ask him about the meaning of this. As the Blessed One explains it to you, so should you remember it. Then the monks, having delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Mahākachana's words, rose from their seats and went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, they sat down to one side and told the Blessed One all that had taken place after he had left, adding, "Then, Venerable Sir, we went to the Venerable Mahākachana and asked him about the meaning. The Venerable Mahākachana expounded the meaning to us with these terms, statements and phrases." And the Buddha said, "Mahākachana is wise, monks. Mahākachana has great wisdom. If you had asked me the meaning of this, I would have explained it to you in the same way that Mahākachana has explained it. Such is the meaning of this. So should you remember it." When this was said, the Venerable Ananda said to the Blessed One, "Venerable Sir, it is as if a man exhausted by hunger and weakness came upon a honey ball. In the course of eating it, he would find a sweet, delectable flavor. So too, Venerable Sir, any able-minded monk, in the course of scrutinizing with wisdom the meaning of this discourse on the Dhamma, would find satisfaction and confidence of mind. Venerable Sir, what is the name of this discourse on the Dhamma?" As to that, Ananda, you may remember this discourse on the Dhamma as the honeyball discourse. That is what the Blessed One said. Remember, Ananda was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. It's the end of the sutta. So basically here, I guess when the Buddha says that firstly, when he teaches the Dhamma, he does not quarrel with anyone in the world. There is one sutta, an interesting sutta, I'm not sure whether it is Anguttara Nikāya or Samyutta Nikāya, I forgot, where the Buddha says, the world quarrels with me, I do not quarrel with the world. He who teaches the Dhamma does not quarrel with the world. Why does the Buddha say he does not quarrel with the world? Because I think a lot of external teachers have found fault with the Buddha. So they want to quarrel with the Buddha, saying, criticize the Buddha and all that. But the Buddha says, because when the Buddha taught the Dhamma, he contradicted a lot of other teachings. So because he contradicted a lot of other teachings, the other external sect teachers were not happy with him. So they found fault with him, criticized him and all that. So it's as though he has a big quarrel with them. But the Buddha says he does not quarrel with them. They quarrel with me. The Buddha says he who teaches the Dhamma does not quarrel with the world. So here the Buddha says he does not quarrel with anyone. Secondly, he says that he teaches such a teaching that perceptions no more underlie the Brahmana, the holy man, who abides detached from sensual pleasures, without perplexity, shorn of worry, free from craving. So the Buddha's teaching is such that if a monk practices it, then he abides detached from sensual pleasures. And when he is detached from sensual pleasures, then he is without the perceptions, perplexity, worries, craving for any kind of being. Also, later the Buddha said, as to the source to which perceptions and notions tinged by mental proliferation beset a man, if nothing is found there to delight in, welcome and hold on to, this is the end of the underlying tendency to lust, to aversion, to views, to doubt, etc. So here, I guess what he's saying, the source from which perceptions and notions arise is the sense objects, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, and thoughts. If we delight in those things, because we tend to delight in worldly things, like beautiful sights, rock music, perfume, good food and all that. We delight in these worldly things. Then the underlying tendency to lust, aversion, views, doubt, everything all arise. So the Buddha says that if we do not delight in these things, the source of all these mental proliferations, that is the end of quarrels and brawls and disputes, etc. Okay, we stop here for tonight. Any questions? I suggest that some of you, if you are able to, go and get this Majjhima Nikāya book. We're going to continue that for the next 3 months. So try to get this book now. Okay, any questions?
Bhante, chapter 18 basically is the cut of self-doubt.
Sutta number 18, not chapter, sutta. Not cut, we don't delight in it. Don't delight, don't cling in sights, sounds, smells and all that. The Buddha says somewhere that the cause of the round of rebirths is craving for delighting in this and that. The normal person, because life is very boring, Buddha says life is dukkha. So for the normal person, we always trying to find amusement. We delight in this. If you just stay at home and do nothing, you find so boring. You must watch the astro, or you watch the football, or you go out karaoke. At least also teh tarik. Go and simbang. So we distract ourselves from the dukkha, Because if you just do nothing, then you feel dukkha. Life is dukkha. So we find it unbearable. So we tend to want to look for pleasure here and there. That's why the Buddha said, always delighting in this and that, changing. You enjoy something also after some time, it becomes boring already. And you get more of it, it becomes a nuisance already. For example, you listen to music. Music is very nice. But it plays non-stop, you find irritating already. If it plays 24 hours a day, it's suffering already. So you have to change. So that's why we always delight in this and that, always changing. It's just that for the normal person, we don't have the Buddha's instructions. For a normal person who does not know the Dhamma, he does not know how to analyze, how to see this. But because we have the Buddha's instructions, the Buddha tells us, then we go and observe. Life is like that. Okay, stop for now. It's getting late.